Since the launch of Israel's operation to find and destroy Hezbollah's cross-border attack tunnels on Tuesday, the Lebanese terror group has been dutifully tracking the Israel Defense Forces' activities along the border and publicizing them. The apparent message that Hezbollah is seeking to convey to the Israeli military is they know exactly what the IDF is up to, keeping an eye on things and tracking soldiers' movements. However, this should come as no surprise to the IDF, which has for years watched Hezbollah operatives watching them from across the border and has been known to supply them with disinformation in order to confuse and mislead. Get the Times of Israel's daily edition by email and never miss our top stories. Free sign up on Wednesday. A senior officer in the IDF Northern Command said the army believed that Hezbollah was surprised that Israel had learned of its tunnel project and was struggling to determine what Israel knew. The Israeli military drills into the soil south of the Lebanese border in an effort to locate and destroy Hezbollah attack tunnels that it says entered Israeli territory on December 5, 2018. Israel Defense Forces, at this point, it seems to be trying to understand what we know and what we don't, but I think that Hezbollah has not figured out how much we know about its tunnel project, and it will be even more surprised going forward, he said, speaking on condition of anonymity. And Israel would like to keep observers surprised, with its work so close to a border heavily monitored, not just by Hezbollah, but also by the Lebanese Armed Forces and UN peacekeeping force UNIFIL. The IDF will likely be forced, in addition to the tunnel-busting operation, to put on other such shows to keep Hezbollah guessing. According to the Iran-backed group, the Israeli military is currently operating at 3 locations along the border, only one of which the IDF has publicly acknowledged, east of the Lebanese village of Kafr Kila, where the army said it discovered the first tunnel. In addition to the area east of Kafr Kila, Hezbollah has also taken and shared photographs of the army's operations at Ramiyah, which lies north of the Israeli community of Zarit, and Mais al-Jabal, west of the town of Kfar Blum. Israeli troops operate heavy machinery near the town of Ramiyah in southern Lebanon on December 5, 2018, according to the Hezbollah terror group. Hezbollah military media, Hay-TV said Wednesday that the IDF first tackled the tunnel from Kafr Kila, which was heading toward the Israeli town Metula because it was being dug toward a residential area. The army said that tunnel, and all the others, was at least several months away from being operational and did not present an immediate threat to residents of the area. The interior of what Israel says is an attack tunnel dug by the Hezbollah terror group that crossed into Israeli territory from south of the Lebanese village of Kafr Kila, December 4, 2018. Israel Defense Forces, none of the tunnels was ready for war tomorrow. In some cases, it was a matter of months and in other it was a matter of years before they'd be operationally ready, a senior officer from the Northern Command said Wednesday, speaking on condition of anonymity. And the IDF will be hoping to avoid receiving any surprises of its own. While the IDF believes it has fully mapped out Hezbollah's tunnel infrastructure, the senior officer allowed for potential surprises, but said that chances of that were low. There are some places we know more about, and some that we know less about. But we have the means to see through the operation to the end, to find and destroy them all, the senior officer said. The officer said the tunnels were discovered using seismic sensors, which were buried underground. Using audio systems, troops are able to listen to the ground and identify suspicious activities, he said. According to the Israeli military, Operation Northern Shield is expected to last several weeks and is being led by the head of the IDF Northern Command Maj. Gen. Ulstrich. According to the officer, the IDF believed Hezbollah was planning to use that tunnel to cut off Metula, which lies in the upper tip of the Galilee, from the rest of Israel as part of a surprise attack in the opening salvo of a future war. Approximately 7 years ago, Hezbollah created a special forces unit, known as the Radwan Unit, specifically tasked with crossing into Israel and causing as much mayhem and destruction as possible, both for the sake of the damage to Israel itself and for the symbolic victory of having troops carry out attacks inside Israel. Israel's last major confrontation with Hezbollah, 2006's Second Lebanon War, was sparked when the terror group managed to infiltrate just over the border, kill several soldiers and capture 2 of their bodies. The senior officer, citing military assessments, said Hezbollah planned to use the tunnels as a part of a wider operation to conquer parts of the Panhandle in Israel's Galilee in a future conflict. IDF Chief of Staff Gadi Eisenkot, Center, visits soldiers searching for Hezbollah attack tunnels on Israeli-Lebanese border on December 4, 2018. Israel Defense Forces. On Tuesday night, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a similar claim, saying the tunnels were part of a wider effort to inflict great damage to Israel and Israeli citizens. Capturing parts of the Galilee by Hezbollah is a concrete threat, he said. It is also part of a regional and global terror effort led by Iran. The one tunnel the army says it has uncovered so far reached 40 meters (130 feet) into Israeli territory outside Metalla, and was 2 meters (6 feet) tall by 2 meters (6 feet) wide. It's unclear how many fighters Hezbollah could have sent through the tunnel before being detected, and if they would be enough to capture or hold significant swaths of Israeli territory. Chief of Staff Gadi Eisenkot said Tuesday that the army is in possession of Hezbollah's tunnel plan. Hezbollah operatives were still working in the tunnel uncovered on Tuesday up until it was exposed by the IDF, according to footage